All right, let's move on to Group C. We've talked about the USA enough here. Um, Group C finished up with Argentina on top on 6 points, Poland in second on four, Mexico in third on four, with a -1 goal difference worse than Poland, and Saudi Arabia in fourth on 3 points. Saudi Arabia for a while almost looked like the best team in this group. And again, I feel like it's another Ecuador situation. They're sitting bottom of the group. What went wrong? What happened? They did the hardest job of the tournament in the first game, and now they're sitting bottom of the group.
Yeah, that heartbreaking is the way everybody loves an underdog. Anybody who doesn't probably supports Mexico. So even though they were the underdog, weren't they? Um, yeah, listen, they again a feature of not finishing the job, right? You go out and you start off hot, you top of the group after day one. That's awesome. You have to see it through. Um, so the Poland match, right? Zielinski scores. You're running that game. I'm looking at stats here. 64% possession, 537 passes completed, comparative to Poland's 297. 16 shots, 5 on target. Chesney's just a monster. Okay, I believe in that game. He stopped the penalty. Um, you know, things that you tip your hat sometimes. At 1-0, you're playing the ball around the back. Ball bounces over your foot to Robert Lewandowski, the best tap in merchant of all time. Yes. Yes. Come at me, Eurosnob. I dare you.
Clip it.
Um, no, right. So you put it on one of the most lethal goal scorers of all time, 1v1 against your goalkeeper. Not a great day. You can't make those mistakes, right? Then you go back to the Mexico game, which I didn't actually see. I was in class. The audacity of this school, by the way, to make me go to class during the World Cup.
I know. On World Cup
Unbelievable.
decision days.
Yeah, literally.
Should have had the week off.
Unbelievable. Um, right. They got outplayed. Mexico outplayed them.
Oh yeah,
Very,
easily.
very, very
They
simply.
dominated.
They did. But again, that's one of the things where if you do the job against Poland, which you could have with the chances and stuff you created, this game becomes less of a problem. Again, the cruelty of the cup. You have to be damn near perfect for 3 games, and then 4 more after that. They we spoke about this in last episode as well. They show that they have talent in that league that is going to be poached. That talent is going to go overseas. It's going to go next door. I don't know where it's going to go, but it's going to go and get better. Saudi Arabia will be back and they will be competing even better in 2026.
I feel like the Mexico game for me was the most disappointing game for them. Did the hard job, did the impossible, beat Argentina. What a start. Unreal. Set yourselves up so well to move on. I want to say there was some stat where it was like maybe a little bit over 80% of teams who win their first game move on to the knockouts. You set yourself up so well. Okay, you go into Poland, you play the game superbly, but you end up losing. All right, fine. We said you can't take off any games. It worked out for you here where you lost this game. You still had easily a shot to move on. Your last game is against the team that's bottom of the group and has looked awful so far. All you have to do is just go and did they have to beat Mexico or did they just have to tie? Let's see.
No, they realistically they needed
No, I think they did have
no
to
they
win the
they
game.
needed they needed a win and they
Yeah,
needed Poland to lose by more than
yeah,
one. I heard
yeah.
however many they lost by.
I think if they got a draw and then Poland had one more goal scored on them, they would have moved on.
Yeah,
But anyway, regardless, all you need is a win. You've been the better team for the first 2 games. Yes, you had to slip up against Poland, but all you need is a win here against the team bottom of the group, and you move on. And they just completely took their foot off the gas. They
yep.
were absolutely dominated by the team that was struggling a ton, was completely out of form. And it just felt like after that Poland game, it was just like done. All the air was sucked out of them, and they just flopped in the last game and put
Yeah.
them bottom of the group. Completely
Yeah,
took
because
them
they
out.
didn't deserve it, right? They didn't deserve the result that their play showed. But football's a cruel game. I say that all the time, mainly based off of Red Bull. But you will come to learn that if you are listening and haven't heard. Yeah, they didn't deserve it. It was rough. It was unfortunate, but that's the game. So it's a lesson learned, right? It's a lesson learned for that group. Big ups to Harvey Renard. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant coaching performance in the group stage. Again, a coaching performance that deserved a move, deserved to move through. I would have loved to see him coach. Oh my god, I would have loved to see him coach against France. Saudi Arabia versus France. See what he could pull off against them. That would have been something magical. Um, but they live, they learn, they move on. That's the way it is.
Yeah. One last question for you on this group. Mexico obviously struggled. First time they haven't been out in the knockout stages in a long time. Where do they go from here? Is it only downhill? Is there any salvaging?
For Poland, I'm sorry.
Mexico.
Oh, sorry, I never heard of them. They're so far below me. I don't even care. Um, again, we've spoken about this. Yikes. The you compare them to Canada, you compare them to the United States and the youth movement that both of those countries has right now, comparatively to their players and the buzz that is being generated about them. Um, they were the second oldest team in this group or in this World Cup, comparative to the United States second lowest, and Canada, if you took Atiba Hutchinson out of it, probably down there in the bottom 10, right? Um, listen, it's if I'm a fan or a supporter of Mexico, I'm worried, and we talked about it a little bit, but I'm worried. It's quite clear that our dominance on the region is slipping. It's quite clear that the potential that a lot of these players possess in our youth system is nowhere near that of the United States. A lot of the hope is that they are getting Mexican American dual nationals to come to their side. And that hasn't worked out for them, right? You look at David Ochoa, hasn't really panned out yet. Um, Jonathan Gonzalez, remember when we thought he was going to be the biggest loss that this country has seen since
Yeah, that
what,
was a brutal
Nam?
day back then.
Yeah, and he wouldn't even sniff the
Oh
18
no, no
of this
shot.
team, right?
No. He's got
So
he's got posters up of Musa Adams and McKinney in his and on his
literally,
walls right now.
it's a worrying time to be a supporter of the Mexican national team. It's you're always going to have the tough, they're not in a spot. Let me rephrase. They're not in a spot where it's like we're not going to qualify for a World Cup. I can't
Mhm.
imagine that another team is going to knock them out right now.
No,
So I
no
think Costa
chance.
Rica Costa Rica's on the downswing too, right? We saw them with their aging team.
Oh yeah.
Um,
No more Keylor Navas.
yeah,
Forget about it.
Honduras, eh.
Yeah.
Panama didn't make it this year. Um, I don't think that they're in like that big of danger.
Yeah.
However, it's worrying that they're not going to be that team, right? They missed the round of 16 for the first time in what, 5 cycles, right? It's not a blip on the radar. It's a sign. Their entire team is going to stop playing in the next cycle. They're not replacing them with anybody. It's worrying to be a supporter of L tree.
Yeah, it's a good summary, I would say. Definitely not really great encouraging signs at the moment. Um, yeah, and to just attack onto your point as well, I feel like if you look at who the US in terms of dual nationals are getting to commit to their team, it's guys that are getting recruited from top European teams, Dest with the Netherlands, Musa with England. We're getting these guys that are being competitive and wanted by top level teams that are competing to win the World Cup. And
Gaga Slinina in Poland.
yeah, and Mexico is grabbing guys that can't break into the U.S. team and are kind of just second fiddle. And believe it or not, those are just not working out right now. Ochoa, Efren Alvarez, Jonathan Gonzalez. So I feel like that kind of speaks to where both programs are headed.
Right. And you mention all those names. I mean, Julian Araujo is another one, right? From LA. All players that we were like, man, we'd really like to have them in our group. Julian Araujo actually got time with the men's national team in Nations League qualifying, I believe. Um, wouldn't even sniff the 26. Not even close. None of those players would even breathe the same air as our 26. And that's why it's worrying. It's not worrying for Mexico because they're starting to slip a little. It's worrying because the guys that they're trying to pull and make our team weaker don't even it's not even a drop in our bucket. That's the worrying part.
Yeah, they if they wanted to do that, they got to go grab a guy like Pepe. That's the guy they needed to go convince to join their team
Or
because that would,
Brandon Vasquez.
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I think Vasquez would definitely help them, but I don't think losing Vasquez would necessarily hurt us.
Correct. And again, that's the worrying part.
Hmm.